Hey guys, welcome to the Banter and Bliss Podcast. My name is Allie. I am with my co-host Jason.
What's up? What's up?
Today is going to be really interesting because we are going to talk about something that Jason is very strongly interested in, and I thought it would be really fascinating to sort of ask questions and sort of get to know the topic a little better. We are going to talk about sort of the utility of blockchain and crypto. So if you don't know what crypto and or blockchain really is about, stay tuned because we're going to kind of dive into sort of the benefits of it and why it's a good thing and maybe also why it could be a bad thing. But I kind of want us to dive into that subject a little more because I don't think a lot of the general public actually knows why crypto is as big as it is. And also, people hear, oh, it's a Ponzi scheme. So I want to talk about all of that stuff. So why don't we just start with like your background in crypto?
Sure. Yeah. And blockchain and crypto is such a heavy topic. We could make a whole series on this and probably create a whole playlist for crypto related stuff. So we'll go into what we can now. There are a lot of applications and there's a lot. So just to kind of preface that. But my background, I started in crypto in late 2017. I think I heard about it on a Tim Ferriss podcast. Love you, Tim Ferriss. Make some good podcasts. You're actually like one of the OG podcasters. Learned a lot from him and from his guests. But I think it was a podcast with Nick Szabo. Give a little bit of context. Nick Szabo is the creator of something that was called BitGold, which it basically was a precursor to Bitcoin. And if you read the Bitcoin white paper, BitGold was actually one of the things that was referenced as like a source, kind of like an original creation that helped influence the creation of Bitcoin. So Satoshi Nakamoto, whoever that is, we can go into that. They were, when they created Bitcoin, they used BitGold as a basically kind of like a source to pull info on as to like what would be a good cryptocurrency, because BitGold was very similar, which also is why a lot of people think Nick Szabo actually is Satoshi. So I watched a podcast, or I was listening to a podcast of Tim Ferriss where he was talking with Nick Szabo. I think it was with Naval Ravikant as well. And they were just, I don't, it's been so long, I should probably rewatch that episode. But they were just talking about it. And obviously Nick Szabo is like a blockchain expert because he's been in since the beginning. And it sounded really like interesting and fascinating. It's kind of hard to wrap my head around a lot of it in the beginning. So I understand it's a very difficult topic, and I'm someone who's highly technical and techie and all that kind of stuff, and it was a lot, like, even for me to wrap my head around. So I get people that.
Well, it's also like the stock market. If someone's trying to like go in the stock market for the first time, it's just like this gargantuan entity of information and different companies, and there's data and there's charts and there's words that like dividends. Someone that, it's like, what is that? Like, what, like someone that's just learning, a child, a kid, a teenager, that you're hearing these words that you don't hear on a daily basis. And it's just, you have to learn all this new language just to even understand just some basics.
Right. So
like even blockchain, people don't understand what blockchain actually is.
Yeah. And so we could talk about that. I mean, so the thing that makes it really difficult to understand, right? Like, so I got involved and I was like immediately like, okay, I wanted to trade. And, of course whenever you hear about crypto, you always hear about people that were in it and made money. And I think that's one of the biggest thing. Obviously, you call it pyramid scheme, Ponzi scheme, blah, blah. And it's like people just don't understand. Just because something is going up over time doesn't mean that it's a pyramid scheme, doesn't mean it's a Ponzi. And when they say like, oh, well, it's only worth what someone's going to buy it for, it's like, that's how fucking everything works in this world. The value of anything is only what people will buy it, will willingly spend money on it.
Just like shares.
Well, a great example of that is take something that people take for granted, the dollar bill, right? Fiat currency. Why, if I were to sell you whatever, my freaking phone used, right? Sell it to you for $50. You want it, like, I don't want it. I'm like, I'll part with it for a certain amount of money, and you offer me $50. Why would I take the $50? I take the $50 because I know that I can then use that $50 anywhere I want to go, and I can buy anything with it. So what does that mean? Well, you have the backing of the US government. That is what the dollar is, that the government says you are required to accept this, or you can't accept it, or whatever. It's considered to be legal tender. So that's why you take it. That's why you work to get paid in dollars, because you know the dollars are going to be worth something. If the dollars are not going to be worth anything, then what the fuck is the point in getting paid in it? So anyway, like I said, it's a very, very heavy topic, so there's a lot to go into. But in terms of like me with my background, I'm trying to get involved in like trading. There's the trading component, which has nothing to do with crypto or blockchain. That's just trading in general. That can apply to equities. It can apply to stocks, or equities and stocks is the same thing. But equities, currencies like Forex, FX, stuff like that. Then there's also the blockchain technology itself, which is the technology that undermines Bitcoin. Like it's the fundamental thing for like what Bitcoin is built on. Like Bitcoin is a blockchain technology, and all these other cryptos are the same thing. And so it's understanding what the differences are between those and then the trading stuff. So yeah, I got involved in 2017, right before, I think Bitcoin was like $5,000 or so. And then that was like 4 months before it popped to 20K. And, it was huge market. Everything was like blowing up and exploding. And then the bear market happened. And that wiped out a lot of people in retail and stuff like that. And so over the time, since now it's already been 6 years, I've been through the cycles, and, you get a better understanding. And a better way to understand it is you have to live through it. When you enter, you don't, we could talk about unit cost bias in the conversations we've had with that. I think it's an important conversation to have, though, because it shows an aspect of the human mind, human psychology. The same thing with people that buy high and then sell low, right? It's psychology. So that's a little bit about me getting into crypto.
And I got in by a friend of a friend, boyfriend of a friend, actually.
Friend of a boyfriend. Boyfriend of a friend?
Boyfriend of a friend.
All right. Yeah. So
and I trusted his opinion. And he was like, you need to get into this thing. If you have any sort of extra funds that you can invest, like, do it in this. And yeah, I sort of like researched a little bit, but because like Coinbase was kind of like the main thing at the time in 2017, I was like, okay, this seems like safe. I guess I'll try it. And then like it like went crazy up in 2017, the market. I was like, whoa, I like made some like decent money. And then come 2018, it all goes back down. I'm like, okay, well, basically I'm like just testing it out. Any money that I put in, I was willing to lose. I kind of just wanted to experiment with it.
Yeah, which is something that, no financial advice on this podcast. But that is something that you typically would need to do and that's not crypto. That's just investing in general, right? People will say, oh, well, crypto is more, it's riskier, blah, blah, blah. But it's the same mindset you take with anything. If you throw your money into a freaking company and the company goes bankrupt and the freaking stock nukes to zero, you're going to lose all your money. It's the same shit. The only difference is the assumption is that it's riskier in crypto because, well, there are a lot of reasons why. The market caps are lower. The market is mostly unregulated. Because the fact that the market's unregulated, it can lure people in that are scammers. That's the problem. It's not that the market is scammers. There's actually a lot of really bright people in the space. Some of the brightest people in the world are in crypto. But the problem is it's lucrative. So anything that's lucrative, you're going to pull in those people.
So why should the world have crypto?
Well, there are lots of reasons for why crypto and blockchain technology can be helpful and useful. There are a lot of different stances you can take on this, and there are a lot of applications. So let's do the most basic one, right? Like Bitcoin. So some useful things about Bitcoin would be typically they'll call Bitcoin digital gold, right? It's like, well, why is it digital gold? Well, let's compare the two, right? They're both generally considered to be a store of value. People like to shit on Bitcoin because they'll go, oh, store value is down 60% this year. Blah, 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 blah. That's fucking stupid. First of all, Bitcoin first came out in 2009. So it actually just had its birthday. So it's been 14 years now. Okay. When Bitcoin first listed on an exchange for a price, that meant people were willing to pay money for something, right? So it was declared as an asset, or it was an asset. And then, of course, the SEC and IRS and shit, they've, considered it to be a digital asset property. So it listed at 1 cent. So if you were around 2009 and you had access to whatever the exchange was at the fucking time, you could buy one whole Bitcoin for 1 cent. Right? And I should have done that. Okay, you could have bought it for 1 cent. Now, if you look at what that was and you look at what the top was, 2 years ago, November 2021, 69,000. I can't do that math in my head, but I've looked at it before and it's like fucking 50 million%. Like, you can make a lot of money.
And it's going to go higher, right?
Well, that's the presumption. But there are a lot of reasons why you can excuse me. Yeah, there are a lot of reasons why. I was just thinking, I'm like, I wonder if I could mute that while I do that, but then it's going to cut all this out. Hopefully I wasn't too loud. Sorry. There are a lot of reasons why we think it should expand and grow. So, right, there's the idea of it being digital gold. So if it's digital gold, to kind of go back to that point, and it's acting as a store of value, over time it's acted as a store of value, right? If you put money in 2009, you've made a lot of money. It's not just a store of value. Store value is not intended to make money. Store value is to store your value. So it's literally like putting it into a stable coin or putting it into the idea of a dollar, right? Having something in cash in dollars doesn't actually store your value. It should theoretically, but it doesn't because they print more money. So when they print more money, they devalue the currency. So the currency is worth less until it eventually is worthless. So, there's little charts you can look at that show the value of a dollar in 1913, around the time of the creation of the Federal Reserve. I think it's 1913, something like that. And it's, 98% is depreciated.
So why does the world need digital gold if it already has gold?
Okay. So what's interesting about that is that if you compare the two, Bitcoin is basically just a better version of gold. So we'll assume store value, we'll just assume that's equivalent, right? Even though Bitcoin has appreciated much more in a much shorter time. Bitcoin is the fastest growing asset to ever hit $1 trillion. It did in 13 years, 12 or 13 years, whatever. So that's a component. There's obviously like fungibility, divisibility, they call all that kind of stuff. So to break that down into like simple terms, you can denominate Bitcoin into minuscule fractions, right? So there's a Bitcoin, and then in a Bitcoin, you can break that down further into parts, which are called Satoshis. And if I recall correctly off the top of my head, I think it's 100 million Satoshis in one Bitcoin. So what that means is you could take a Bitcoin and break it down to 100 million Satoshis. Can't really do that with gold. I mean, you could break a gold bar down into 100 millionth of a part of it, but that's ridiculous. You can't actually do it. You'd have to melt the fucking gold down. It's pointless. Okay, one part. Second part, you can't ship it, right? Gold, if you want to get gold from point A to point B, you got to ship that crap. And that costs money, that costs time, fees. You got to get a third party to do it.
Probably like a big secure box.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's a joke. So if you want to send, let's say, $100 million, you want to send $100 million from point A to point B, and you want to do it with gold, that's probably going to take you weeks, a month. That's going to cost you probably millions.
Just because, like, when you ship a box around Christmas time and they weigh it.
Yeah, gold's heavy. Like get a gold bar and put it in your hand. It's like, that's a decent amount of weight. Now imagine $100 million in gold at, what is it, $1,600 an ounce? Like, that's, I don't know, do the math on that. That's heavy. You can't carry that. Also, there's no way you could actually carry it. So if you were trying to carry, let's say, thousands of dollars in gold, and you got in like freaking bars, you can put it in your backpack. You can be carrying like a satchel of it. You can't move with it well. So imagine, like,
you can't break, like, let's just say you have $10 million worth of gold in your backpack and you're buying something for $1 million. It's like, what do you do in that case? It's like you have $10 million of weight worth in gold, right? So it's like, how do you can't break it up to pay for what you need.
Right. So that goes back to that divisibility aspect where you can break things down into basically 1/100 millionth for a Bitcoin.
I know. I have like a small percentage of Bitcoin myself, so I don't have a full Bitcoin, but yeah, I'm able to at least get something. That's the cool thing about buying crypto is, unlike the stock market, you have to buy a full share in the stock market.
Yeah, that's another very great point. Shares are the lowest unit cost. So you have to buy one share at minimum to purchase something. So let's take a stock like Amazon, for example. I'll pull up the price right now. I don't have it memorized. Oh, did they fucking split? Okay. Bad example because it looks like they split. Yeah, so the price is lower. All right, I don't know what the fucking price is.
Why don't you do like Tesla or something?
Yeah, let's do Tesla. Killing me here. I mean, Tesla's 150 right now, so that's not even that helpful.
Berkshire Hathaway.
Oh my god, yeah. Actually, that's a hilarious fucking example. But we actually should do that. Okay, so Berkshire Hathaway. It's not even this one. Where is it? So it's Class B is what I think it is. Is it Class B? I don't even fucking know. Hold on. Sorry, don't have this prepared. We're doing this on the cuff right now. So, I don't even see it. It's not B. No. What the hell? Yeah, it's okay. No, it's A. It's Class A. So Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's company, he's got different classes of stock that he offers. Class A is it's priced at $469,600. So it's like the most expensive share, right? And it's intended like people just can't really buy it, right? But he never did an equity split. So a stock split. Remember, I was looking up Amazon, it said $90. Well, they did a fucking stock split apparently because it was $4,000. So why do they do a stock split? They do a stock split because $4,000 is fucking expensive, right? So if you want to buy Amazon and you don't have $4,000, you're not even buying one share. You can't buy anything. You could have $3,000, you're not buying a share. So why is that important? Well, Bitcoin is,
and any crypto, really.
Yeah, any crypto. But we'll take Bitcoin for example because the price is high. So Bitcoin is $22,618 right now as of this recording. So if Bitcoin was a stock, that means you would have to have $22,000 to buy one share of Bitcoin. And the minimum you could buy is one Bitcoin. So that's not the case. You don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You could buy half a Bitcoin for $10,000, or you could
put in $100 and get 0.000087 Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah, you could put in $100 if you want. And so that's nice, right? Because you can get into it. But also what helps with crypto companies is that you can invest in these projects very, very, very early. Sure, there will be private seed rounds and this and that where, people who know people and their friends, and they can get into things really, really early, like ICO price. In crypto, ICO is initial coin offering. It's basically the crypto version of an IPO, which most people are probably familiar with. That's when a company goes public. So you can buy things at, a breakdown of the unit. So
I also think I think one of the biggest benefits for crypto that I ever saw was the Ukraine situation, where like everybody was able to like donate Bitcoin because it's like a universal currency. It's not tied to a government, which I think is like the best part, because it's like if they were accepting Ukrainian, whatever their dollar is over there, we wouldn't be able to donate because we don't have that here. But everybody was able to pitch in, whoever had Bitcoin, or was it Ethereum? I'm not even sure.
It was ETH.
ETH, yeah, Ethereum. And so everyone was able to just do Ethereum because it's global.
I don't even know how you pronounce this. HRYVNIA.
That's theirs?
Irvinia? Yeah, that's the Ukrainian currency. Oof. So not only that, but you're able to do it at any time of the day. Stock market's closed on the weekends, and it's closed after hours. Crypto is 24/7. You control your funds, so you can do whatever. So like I sent like $100 to Ukraine.
And it's there in minutes.
Yeah, it's quick. It's cheap. So to go back to the analogy that was given before about the $100 million, gold you're trying to move. If you were trying to move $100 million on the Bitcoin network, I've actually seen a transaction once that was about 100 million, and the cost was like $1.80. $1.80 to move that amount of money is insane.
Even like a bank fee would be way more than that.
If you try to do a wire transfer right now, they're going to charge you probably fucking $10-$20.
Or is it a percent? No, it wouldn't be a percent of what you're sending.
No. Well, to do a wire transfer typically are flat fees.
Okay.
But something like that, you can't even do. You got to call them in. You got to like I know someone who tried moving not even that much money, like maybe like 5 figures, maybe. I don't know if it was 6. He tried moving it to his bank. Like he tried depositing it, and they like froze his account, and he had to like call and go in and all this kind of shit. And they wanted to like check. And so it's insane, right? Because it's like your money. You should be able to fucking move it if you want to move it.
Yeah.
So those are just the general like properties of crypto, right? Now we're not even talking about applications and stuff, which, maybe if we want to do a part 2, unless we just want to do a really long episode here, but because I know we're already at 25 minutes, but we're talking about like the general, how it works and like what's the general benefit of, like, we're talking Bitcoin, but the thing is, Bitcoin is already all these things, cheaper, faster, blah, 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 than the legacy network, the main networks you use. The big banks and all that shit, they use Swift, right?
I also think the last benefit, I guess I could think of, just for now, would be, it's sort of like a get out of your grave card for like young people, where we're trapped in like student debt, we're trapped, we can't get houses these days, like everything's just getting more expensive. I feel like if you're investing in crypto and the price goes up, and then now you have a savings, now you have money, it's very versatile, and it keeps fluctuating. And I feel like the stock market, it's a little bit more stiff in price. I remember when I had a few like Disney shares, like they barely even moved, like the whole time I was there, working there for 5 years. Like I didn't even gain any like money from it. I sold them and I'm like, whatever. It's like not even worth what I bought them for.
Yeah. So the stock market appreciates about 8% a year on average, right? So, if you throw $1,000 in, you're going to make no fucking money. You're going to make $80 a year, which is a joke. Like, you're not going to make any money. So, well, how are you able to make money on these things? Blah, blah, blah. Well, the stock market, the 8%, it's a 20, 30, 40 trillion dollar market, right? Like if you're playing the S&P, which is what I'm saying, 8%, right? Like, let me look it up right now. S&P market cap. So S&P market cap is at a current level of 32 trillion. Okay, so the S&P is 500 companies weighted, right? So 32 trillion. So let me see. Million, billion, 32 trillion, 8%. So yeah, 8% move is like 2 trillion. So it's a lot of money that's moving in the market, but an 8%, because it's a weighted index, right, of all these companies, is not much, right? You could be in an individual company and it can go up way more than 8%, or it could go down and the S&P could go up. That's the funny thing, right? Because it's a weighted average, because it's an index. So you're looking at companies that have been around forever, right? Like
a century or so.
Well, a lot of the companies that are in that. Obviously, there are some that are newer technology companies, blah, blah, blah. But, take, I don't know, like, let's see when Apple first arrived. So Apple first arrived in 1976. Yeah, founded April 1st. That's hilarious. April Fool's Day. So yeah, it was founded April 1st, 1976, and it IPO'd in 1980. So it IPO'd at 4 years later. But it IPO'd at $22 a share, right? So now price is at $142, but I'm pretty sure Apple has split a number of fucking times. But if you look at the chart, the market is just straight up. So basically what's happening is those movements that you're seeing in the crypto market are because these technologies are so new. And what's also interesting about it is that they're technologies, they're not companies. I mean, there are projects with teams and funds, and it's kind of like a company. But some of these things, like Bitcoin, like Ethereum, they're technologies. So they're like platforms that are not going to be the thing. It's the cement, it's the concrete that everything else will be built upon. So, like, a good analogy that people much smarter than me say is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stuff like that, blockchain technology is like TCP/IP. No one knows what the fuck TCP/IP is, but that's basically how the internet works, right? It's with packets being sent, and it's the fundamental technology underneath everything that allows everything else above it to work, right? All these other platforms, the Google, the fucking, Facebook, Meta, all that kind of shit. All these companies are built in the Web 2. And so Web 3, which is with blockchain technology, the idea is that things can be built on this. And we haven't even touched on other things. There's the decentralization aspect. There's the censorship resistant aspect, which I think is big, especially now. If you look at the Ukraine-Russia war, for example, there were people that had to leave the country. If you had, I don't know, 100,000, 200,000 in gold or in cash, how do you leave the country with that? You can't. There were people that left. They had crypto. They had crypto on a hardware wallet, something like that. And it's a global network. That's another thing. Global network. It's everyone's participating. The S&P and the U.S. stock market. Yeah, there's other countries that fucking come in and invest in shit, but it's our stock market. It's not a world stock market. It's the United States stock market. But the U.S. is such a big player that other players want to invest in it. But crypto is so fucking global. You can raise funds. There's so much shit like you could talk about with this. So, I don't know if there are like certain ones you want to kind of go into, because those are a lot of different areas. You can delve into that.
I definitely think we'll need like a part 2 and 3 for the crypto series, because
I mean, yeah, we could probably do a good couple of parts on that. We actually could we could do different episodes on each of the individual parts. Some of the ones, like the censorship resistant, we could easily do an episode on that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah. I think that's good for now.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Well, I have my crypto expert here. He teaches me a lot. I'm very average. I don't do the research. I do very basic research. Like when I jumped in originally, I just sort of Googled it, made sure it wasn't fake. You know what I mean? I sort of did that, and I was like, okay, like let's do it. Let's give it a shot. And now it's just got this like whole community, and my portfolio has gone up, it's gone down, but I'm super hopeful for the future of blockchain and crypto. Like I know you and I have talked about, the potential for it, and maybe even something that you might want to think about doing one day for like your own passion projects. So there's just a lot that crypto has to offer, and I guess for the intent for this podcast is just to showcase and just put out just some basic info for people that maybe aren't as deep into it as like the top players are, like kind of more like the people that are like me that just kind of want to know about it, and then if they're interested they can try it for themselves. And yeah
There's excuse me, there's a lot to learn, and everything is relative, right? Like based on this conversation, based on conversations we've had, sure, I seem like an expert, but compared to like people that I talk to in the space, like I seem clueless. Just is what it is. It's not that the things I talked about, in this episode
I'm like level 1, you're like level 10, and then the experts are like level 100.
Yeah, it really is, and you need to do your research and understand it. And I did a lot of research when I got in. But one of the things, again, not financial advice, but the thing that kind of worked for me and has been the case with even like projects I've gotten involved in since being in the space is not only you got to put your money where your mouth is, but you putting money into something will force you to learn it. And I think they even mentioned that in that podcast that I watched or that I listened to with Tim Ferriss. I think they did, or I read it somewhere. A lot of people will say that. They're like, you put a small amount in that, you don't care, like you mentioned, like expect it's going to go to zero, or just, it's like when you buy it, you just think like, okay, the money's gone. But once you put it in, and then it's like, it's weird. It's weird because, your money goes up a little bit and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. And like you're like, oh, this sounds interesting. Like, why does it do that? And then you just kind of like start researching. It's like, oh, this is like really cool, like protocol. And then when you send a transaction, right? Like you send a transaction and then the transaction fee is 1 cent. And I'm just like, huh. And then I sent something on the Avalanche network, I think it was. The transaction was like literally instant. And I was like, shit, that's pretty cool.
I also think the other side of that is also, you also don't need to know everything to jump in. And I feel like people maybe see this overwhelming just thing of information, and it's like way too much. Even you, as much as you research it, can possibly know everything you could possibly know about crypto.
No, not at all.
I think it's just, at least learn the basics and maybe have a friend or just look at some YouTube videos. There's like so many people that are helpful, and so
yeah. I mean, certain things are important. Certain things are not going to impact. Like understanding like why Bitcoin will not and has not been hacked in 14 years. Because someone could say, "Oh, it's technology; it could be hacked." Well, it can't be hacked. There are ways in which the market can be, or the network can be. Excuse me. There are ways in which the network can be compromised. But if you understand how the network works, you would understand that the network cannot be compromised at this point. There was a chance for that to happen early in the early days when when the market cap of Bitcoin was much lower and it was more centralized and there were less nodes on the network. So that goes into the heavier technical aspect. So if you're someone that's like, I don't know how, if I feel so safe with it, then you're the type of person, and that's fine. You can feel that way. That I felt that exact way. That's me. I'm very careful. I'm trying to like understand things. So I went in and did the research to figure out. So what is this SHA-256? How does this work? There's encryption, right? There's public keys, there's private keys. How does it actually work at a technical level? At a surface level of a technical level. Because there's the deep understanding of like how miners transfer funds and the nonce and that shit you don't need to know to understand and to utilize it. But you need to understand like your addresses, you need to make sure you check your address before you send funds, because there's no CEO, to reach out to and say, hey, like I sent my funds to the wrong address. You send your funds to the wrong address, you lose your money.
Oh, beware of the Karens.
The Karens? Yeah.
Give me my refund.
Yeah, that shit ain't happening. There's no one you can complain to. Like, it's not gonna happen. So, and most people say, well, I don't get it. That doesn't make any sense. It's like, all right, well, spend the time and read about it, and you'll see, you'll understand. But you got to be willing to do the research. I know too many people who have an opinion and they know nothing about it, and they just, yeah. And if it's not your thing, then that's totally fine. But don't have a biased opinion on it if you don't understand. Don't do that. Because I feel like a lot of like boomers and older generations are like that. They're very
set in their ways and their mindsets.
Yeah. Like they don't have to get involved. Warren Buffett, right, is like considered the greatest investor of all time or whatever, and richest and stuff like that. He only got into Apple like 10 years ago or something. if that, maybe it was like 7-8 years ago. He got in late, and he got in late to Google, or he never even bought Google or Amazon. He's not a tech guy. His companies that he's invested in are oil companies and banks and Coca-Cola. Yeah, those are his things. So what? He didn't grab the tech companies. So were those bad investments? No, those were the best investments. But he's an old guy that is not familiar with the technologies. He sure as hell is not going to be familiar with crypto, and that's why he's so anti-crypto. Calls it rat poison. Fucking him and Charlie Munger, rat poison squared. It's stupid. It's like, just don't talk about things you don't know. You could literally just say, I don't know what it is. I don't get it.
Or I don't have, enough education on it to have like an actual opinion.
That's it. I'm not going to give someone shit for that. Why would I give you shit? It's like, that's fine. It's like, are you interested in it? You should maybe look into it. You don't want it? That's fine. I'm not going to try to sell you. I don't care.
Yeah. It doesn't help you. Like it.
Yeah. It's not like I'm like shilling you like a, ref link or
right.
Like a referral link, and people in the space do that sometimes. Trading accounts, they'll like shill their ref link, like, oh, sign up in my thing, and they get like fees and stuff. It's like, no, it's like, I think it's a force for good, and I think it can be utilized in many ways, and we can kind of go into that in the next couple episodes in this little series, the crypto series. But yeah,
all right, I think that's good.
You want to close this out?
Yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We obviously talk a lot about crypto in our spare time, and I've heard a lot of what he has to say about crypto. And I really do think it's important to sort of talk about the benefits of it and how it could be used in the world, because the more that people know about it, the more support it gets, and then the more it can grow and actually make a difference in how things run, healthcare, whatever, technologies, security, all of that above. So it can only be a benefit if more people know about it. So hopefully if people actually get a hold of this podcast and they see this, maybe they'll find an interest in it and then invest their time, and then these individual cryptos can grow. So with that said, thank you guys for watching. We will definitely be back very soon. We're sort of on an interesting schedule at the moment. We don't have anything certain. We do like to do a couple podcasts a week. At the minimum, the days are a bit off, but we always plan to film at least 2 or 3 a week at this point. So stay tuned for our next episode. We will be back probably in the next day or two. Our topics range so far. We kind of love to be spontaneous on that and kind of decide what we're going to talk about day of. We don't necessarily plan ahead. I think it's just more of a natural conversation that way. It's not so scripted. It's just you and I having a conversation, and you guys are the third person in the conversation. So we like to keep it that way for now. Make sure to check out our Twitter. The link is going to be right there. And I think that is all. Do you have anything else to say?
No, just look forward to talking more on this. If you guys have any questions regarding crypto or specific projects or whatever, feel free to comment, leave us that. I'd be happy to talk about anything that I'm aware of, and if I'm not, full transparency, let you guys know. Keep this very straight and open.
Also, you can DM us if you actually have like a serious crypto question, and Jason can help you out too, like on a personal level.
Yeah, again, not financial advice.
Not financial advice.
I can't provide financial advice. But if you guys have questions on anything, definitely happy to help provide information if I know, or I can provide you sources where you can get that information.
Yes.
And yeah, if you do, make sure you include, not a tax advisories, or make sure you pay your taxes.
Yes.
that's
another
important. Yeah, that's definitely something
That is another thing.
I've been telling Allie as well. And I've been paying my taxes since I've been in. And so, yeah. But yeah, please give us a like if you liked the video. If you didn't like it, you don't need to like it. That's fine. Subscribe. Check out our Twitter, twitter.com/banter and bliss, where you can find all our new podcasts, or you can, hopefully, preferably as well, besides following us on Twitter, subscribe to our channel and get notifications, click the bell. And yeah, I think that's it.
All right. And we will see you guys in our next video.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.